This mother and her son had been locked in this room for many years. The mother was locked up for 7 years, while the son was kept for 5 years. The young boy was in captivity since birth, without ever spending time outside, because a perverted man held them captive. The innocent boy was well unaware of how brutal life was. 7 years ago, when the mother was just a 17-year-old girl, she was kidnapped by a pervert and locked up here. Then, she gave birth to a boy. His hair was as long as a girl's, because there were no scissors in the room. The perv was afraid that the mother could attack him. Years ago, she once tried hitting him on the head with a toilet hose, but she was seriously injured before even getting close to him. Then, that hassle through the toilet cistern led away. The pervert usually came at night. He brought them food, drink, and necessary supplies. Then he went on satisfying his sexual desires. Every time the monster came, the mother put her son in the closet to keep him from seeing the truth. Every day, the mother and child did exercises together, and she taught him to read and write. She didn't tell the boy the truth about his current situation. She wanted to protect her kid. Every morning, the mother and the kid would scream loudly into the ventilation duct in the hope that someone could ever hear them. But this room was way too soundproof. They never succeeded. That day, the deviant came again, but he did not bring vitamins for the boy. Vitamins, he said, were not only expensive but also ineffective. But for a child who had only bread to live by, vitamins were vital. Speaking to the pervert, the mother knew that the pervert had been unemployed for 6 months, and now he was running out of money. Then suddenly he went mad, almost beating her. The boy sneaked out of the closet and stared at the pervert. The pervert regained consciousness and wanted to touch the baby, but his mother also got up. She went mad as she did not want the pervert to touch her son. The pervert suddenly grabbed his pillow, pinning her down. He probably wanted to suffocate her. After a while, he released his hand, then left. The second time they woke up, the power was out. It was not clear whether the pervert cut it off or he hadn't paid the bill yet. Without a heater, the room became extremely cold. The mother quickly tried to open the iron door, but failed to do it. All they could do was to dress in more layers. On that very day, the mother thought about escaping from this room. She started telling her son about the outside world. She told him about how she was trapped into this locked-up space. Unexpectedly, the child hit the roof. Then he messed with her.
I'll believe in your sticky world!
The boy cried. The world that he believed in was destroyed by his loved one. The mother had no choice but to give up, admonishing him. The miserable mother curled up in the blanket, too sad to move and say a thing. The boy had nobody to play with. While playing, the boy held a cup and looked from the bottom of it. It dawned on him that there is a completely different world outside. Then he started to ask his mother more about the outside world. She felt so comforted. She began to tell him more and more, and the boy's curiosity grew and grew. Then she discussed an escape plan with him. She wanted him to fake illness to trick the pervert so bad he would take him out to be examined. Presumably, he could seek help to ensure her son's trick worked. She pressed a hot towel against his forehead, making his face as hot and red as the sun. Then the mother gouged out her throat and vomited on the bed. She stuffed the petition for help into her son's pocket. She told him to give it to people when there was a chance. It was not long before the pervert reappeared. The mother told him the child was sick. The pervert came close to touch his forehead. It was indeed hot. The pervert said he would bring the boy the fever-reducing medicine at night, but the mother insisted on taking him to the hospital immediately. The pervert refused. The two fell into a quarrel. The pervert turned away and left. Such a heartless being. This plan was considered a failure. The mother cried herself out all night, but now she came up with a second plan. The boy would play dead, so the pervert would have to take him out to bury, and the son could find a chance to escape. He protested violently, but the mother was very patient in teaching him over and over how to hide under the rug, how to get out, how to jump out of the car. He understood them all, and finally, he agreed with the plan. They hugged each other like the last time, then heard the sound of the door opening. The mother quickly rolled the kid into the rug. As soon as the monster came in, she started to cry in misery. She screamed out that her son died. The pervert was surprised and seemed annoyed annoyed. However, it seemed real to him. He wanted to see the boy for the last time. The groaning mother beat him so hard that he could barely touch the boy. The pervert decided to bring the dead kid out. The mother said he couldn't bury him in the yard because she would feel like he was still alive with her. The pervert agreed. He was in a great predicament. He could only say yes to all of her requests. Finally, he took him away. She looked him right into his eyes before his leaving and said, "All is on you." The boy felt so nervous to be outside for the first time. He took few breaths that were nearly heard. Fortunately, the boy held them back in time before the pervert could hear. The pervert placed the boy in the pickup truck and drove away. He swayed back and forth along with the vehicle's motion and felt so scared, but his mother's words kept echoing in his ears. The boy knew it was time. He started to take action. After the car stopped for 2 times, he finally got out of the rug. It came as a shock to him. There was a grand sky and a whole great world outside. All that his mother said was true. The boy stood up, clinging to the side of the car to see. Countless new things seemingly made him forget his situation for a while. So life was, in fact, full of interesting things. Living is supposed to be free. Remembering his mother's words, he did not jump down till the car stopped. It finally stopped. The boy was about to jump down, but the pervert unexpectedly turned sideways and saw the boy. He stopped the car right away. The boy quickly jumped down, running and tripping. He was so close to being caught again. When he saw a man was walking his dog, the pervert grasped the boy. The passerby intended to apologize, but he found this man very strange. He used force with a small kid. The boy cried.
I'll take care of it.
Boy grabbed the piece of paper, but the pervert took it away from him. He tried to keep the kid. The passerby threatened to call the police. The pervert freaked out and hurriedly released the boy, and he drove away. The child speechlessly fell on the side of the road. It started to rain, but the kind man was still by his side. He even used a cloth to cover the boy until the police came. It turned out to be a gentle police officer. She hugged the boy, then took him into the car and began to ask him, but the panic muted him. The officer tried to ask several times. She finally mentioned his mother. The child replied yes, but he did not remember her name. He did not know where she was either. The police officer still asked little by little, impatient, what the room was like, any windows, how the sun came in. Finally, the boy told her important information. That room is a makeshift one. How did you jump out of the car? She continued to ask. The boy answered, my mom told me to jump once the car stopped, but only when the car stopped for the 3rd time did he made the move. The police went through all recently collected information. She kinda knew the captivity place was in a distance of 3 traffic light stops. She reported the information to the police department. The police began to search for makeshift houses within the above estimated distance. After a while, the police car stopped in front of a house. The kid felt the scene was quite familiar. He tried to take a closer look. Then he started pounding the car door. Finally, a familiar figure appeared from the dark. There was his mother. The mother ran over and opened the car door. They squeezed each other. The mother burst into tears. They have had enough of these curses in life. It all came to an end. After 7 years of captivity, the mother and the son are finally free. Not long after that, the pervert was arrested by the police. All seemed to have been resolved, but getting to a normal life is a big deal. The boy is 5 years old already. This is his first time living a normal life. The boy still wasn't adopted to it. He did not dare to talk to anyone. He told everything to his mom. Then she passed his words to others. His grandma wanted to cut his hair, but he did not want it, saying it was his source of power. Everyone showed sympathy by treating him gently, so he could slowly open his heart up until the day Granddad found out that he seemed to be picking on him. So he pretended to speak to himself, making the boy follow him into the kitchen and gave the boy a bowl of super mouth-watering oats. He said a full sentence for the first time.
You really have a dog?
I do.
He started to open up, but unfortunately, his mother fell into a deep depression. She became regretful and quick-tempered, seeing old photos and looking at the little girl in the pictures. She became extremely upset because she couldn't understand why these horrible things happened to her. Sometimes, the son used the phone so loudly that she couldn't sleep. then she would furiously chase him out. The boy's grandmother advised him. She started arguing with her mother. She blamed the kidnap on her mother because she taught her to be a good person. But it was that kindness that hurt her. After that, journalists approached her for interviews. During an interview, the MC asked a sensitive question on purpose. Have you ever thought of committing suicide? Waiting for your baby to grow up, will you tell him about his father? The most heartbreaking problem. When the baby was born, why didn't you tell him to abandon the baby in the hospital? If so, he would be free. Why didn't you sacrifice yourself? These questions stopped her right through the heart. The guilt haunted her heart every moment, pushing her to an extreme depression. That night, she took a suicide drug. When the boy heard his mother vomiting, he ran to the toilet and found his mother lying unconscious on the ground. The boy screamed till his grandmother and grandfather ran in. His mom was taken to the hospital. Since then, the mother was forced to stay in the hospital to receive psychological treatment. This was the first time the boy had ever been away from his mother. He tried to live on his own. Gradually, with the love of his family, he was able to talk to strangers. One day, grandfather brought a dog home. The boy was very happy. He spent the whole day with the dog, but he never stopped missing his mom. Sometimes, he looked at her photos taken when she was small. The boy immersed himself in thoughts. He wanted to understand what feeling his mother had been suffering. That day, the boy suddenly looked for his grandmother. He asked if she could help him cut his hair because he believed it gave him strength. So the boy wanted to cut it, then give it to his mama. His grandmother felt so happy hearing this and agreed to do it. Then he had her wash and dry his hair. All of a sudden, he said,
I love you, Grandma.
Hearing this made her kind of breathless, then moved her to tears.
I love you too, Jack.
A few days later, a little kid knocked on the door to ask him to play with her. So he went out. The two kids had a great time together, just like any normal kids on the earth. Recently, getting back home, the mother saw this, and a smile blossomed on her lips. When she went outside, at the sight of his mother, the boy runs toward her. They hug each other tightly. Oh, Mom is fine, she told him when she received his gift. She knew for sure that she would definitely be better. After that, everything got better and better. The whole family lived in harmony and happiness. The mother often takes her son out. Everything was fresh and new. Things are going really well. Eventually, they go back to the room they used to be locked up in. The very last visit. Entering this room, he discovers himself no longer recognizing it.
Has it gotten shrinked?
Not really, just the boy grew bigger. Finally, the boy said goodbye to everything inside.
Bye, plant. Bye, chair number 1. Bye, wardrobe.
His mother to say farewell also. The mother whispered, goodbye forever. They truly got out of this hell, not only physically, but mentally free from captivity. There exists a locked room in each of us. We have to become stronger to break it. Like the grandmother said, it is almost impossible for people to become stronger on their own. We must help our loved ones. Our support and companionship makes them stronger.